Hello, respected viewers. I'm George from Ireland. So, more upon the tension between Ukraine and Russia, and obviously NATO countries are weighing in on Ukraine's side with varying degrees of enthusiasm. So, it was announced on January the 21st that the Russian Parliament is debating whether they're going to recognize Donbass and Luhansk as independent countries. Remember, obviously, you see Russia's done something similar with Abkhazia and South Ossetia over the years. So Donbass and Luhansk are regions in East Ukraine, which are mostly ethnically and linguistically Russian, and obviously the Russian army invaded, took over in 2014, welcomed by most of the people of those regions, and the Russian government to this day is lying that its troops are there. There's been built up about 140,000 Russian troops on the border with Ukraine. That's in addition to those who are actually already in Ukraine, including Crimea. So is there going to be a full-scale war? Well, I mean, it's not going to be in the next few hours, maybe in the next few days. One of the things to look for is, does Russia call up its reservists? And so far they haven't. And now, I've never been a soldier for a single day, but I'm told it's actually quite expensive to forward deploy these guys, having their intents. Moreover, there's a narrowing window of opportunity, because in mid-March, the thaw will start and things will turn to mud. When the land is completely frozen, that's fine for tanks. And then after April, when it's reasonably dry and hard, that's fine. So if it doesn't happen by the middle of March, it's not going to happen till May. Anyway, I don't know if the Ukrainians put this time to good use. Do you dig anti-tank trenches? Is that even a thing? I'm not a military man. And there have been more indications that NATO is weakening, because the Germans are dialing down the rhetoric. There was the head of the German Navy was dismissed the other day for saying that there's no chance that Russia's going to invade Ukraine, obviously missing the fact they've been invading it for the past 8 years. Are they going to do it on a larger scale is the question, and that Russia deserves respect, and that's all they want. Well, okay, every country deserves respect. I mean, there's lots of respect about Russia. I despise the Putin regime, but there are many good Russians, and there are attractive aspects to Russian culture and their contribution to the world. So what else? We'll see what happens with that debate. So the Speaker of the Duma said that guaranteeing the safety of Donbass and Luhansk is crucial. Well, it'd be a lot easier to guarantee there was no conflict there, which Russia had started. Now, I know Russia's argument is that Yanukovych, who was president of Ukraine, was overthrown in 2014. His police shot dead about 100 people, almost all of them unarmed, in 2014. It said that CIA trained some of the people overthrew Yanukovych in 2014, and that this subsequent Ukrainian presidents have been illegitimate. But Zelensky was elected fair and square. Even his bitter enemy, Petro Poroshenko, accepts that. Poroshenko returned to Ukraine recently. Some said he was going to be arrested at the airport, but he hasn't been, and he's been charged with various offences, but he's awaiting his trial at home, which kind of shows how the situation could work. And he said he's not there to be against Zelensky, but to be for Ukraine. So Zelensky's re-election is coming up, and not too far away, but it looks like he will be re-elected. That obviously has had the midterm blues. He's not resolved the situation. He's not got back every millimetre of land as he vowed. He's not ended the conflict. I mean, how did you do both? You're not going to get it back peacefully. So he's made contradictory promises he can't possibly fulfil. Hello. Is the UK? I'm not sure I understand what the question is. So there have been various meetings between Antony Blinken and Sergei Lavrov in Geneva, Switzerland, and elsewhere, attempts to de-escalate the situation. Joe Biden has warned that a full-scale war against Ukraine would be catastrophic for Russia. The EU and the United States have vowed to impose severe sanctions, but Germany's gone wobbly on this and saying that there's no linkage between Nord Stream 2, that pipeline which was completed but not operational, under the North Sea to Germany to provide them with gas. Germany gets about 50% of its energy needs from Russia. Is the UK supplying arms to Ukraine? Yes, certainly, and the United Kingdom's been very open about that, shipping weaponry. And the various Baltic NATO countries have got US weapons ready to go to be delivered like that if there is full-scale conflict. Now, Turkey's got a fairly cordial relationship with Russia, and complicated because of Azerbaijan and other reasons, but even Erdogan, who's Putin's soulmate, has warned him not to invade Russia. Maybe this admonition will get somewhere. So, so Germany's not being as firm as you might hope. And there are other countries which get even more than 50% of their energy needs from Russia. But winter is ending soon. Obviously, we still need energy throughout the year. So, but at home, you might have to wear more clothes. If sanctions were ended on Iran, that might be a game changer. I thought if I were Biden, I'd say, okay, we'll end the sanctions on Iran, but you got to pump oil and gas like mad to get the world price down. So energy is going to be expensive for a while. It'll push EU countries towards green energy faster, but the EU is not going to get to full green energy, not for decades. It might be able to reduce the need for hydrocarbons just a little bit. So there are major Russian military exercises all over the world. I mean, what's that about? So there might be a real deterrent that the Ukraine could make this very bloody for Russia. There's no way they can actually defeat Russia, but it could be a concatenation of severe sanctions and a tough fight in Ukraine could put Russia off. But how long can Putin keep delaying this? His troops are all dressed up and nowhere to go, and the public might be a bit hyped up. And you can't maintain that level of adrenaline for too long. It's going to drain away. But in the meantime, he's made his economic situation worse. But the EU's economy would also suffer from a lack of hydrocarbon. Are you heading for World War III? No, I don't think so, because no NATO country said they're going to fight on behalf of Ukraine, even if the whole of Ukraine were taken over. And it might be faintly cowardly, but should we care? Very glad to be out of the fight myself. Putin may weaponize gas supplies if sanctions are applied, sure, but that's going to hurt him more than it's going to hurt anybody else. But obviously he doesn't give a damn about the welfare of the Russian people, most of whom live in relative poverty. He could help them by paying a decent amount of tax himself, by getting his kleptocrat cronies to pay a tiny amount of tax, and not by spending loads of money on weaponry, not starting these wars of aggression, not provoking sanctions and having counter-sanctions. Anyway, so some EU countries are not so committed to being firm on this issue. Now, the United Kingdom claimed that their various former Yanukovych politicians in Russia, whom Russia has groomed to be its new puppet regime in eastern Ukraine. Or is that true? I just don't know. Some people say you mustn't give too much credence to intelligence. Of course, sometimes the secret information is erroneous, or this plot having been exposed, if it's true, Russia might then change its plans, which is not to say that wasn't their plan initially. A bit like the United States claiming there was a false flag that Russia was planning some sort of incident, set off some bomb, or kill some people in eastern Ukraine, ethnic Russians say, these evil Ukrainian fascists, we have to go in to save our people, to create this bogus pretext for intervention. But, how many people would be being killed? It would be justificatory of an invasion. One person being killed, that's not sufficient reason. Or 10 or 100 or 1,000. Eventually it's so big that it is permissible. And of course, Putin has previous on this, when he was Prime Minister of Russia, setting off apartment block bombs, killing several hundred Russian civilians in autumn of 1999 in order to restart the Chechnya conflict, and that made him quite popular. Anyway, so it's all quite ominous, but stalling things is good. Jaw is better than war. Putin's sort of cut off his own nose to spite his face and wrecked his own economy. Well, wrecked is too strong a word. Certainly damaged it a lot, but not enough to make him turn back. So the UK was saying it was Yevgen Murayev, who Russia wanted to make president of Ukraine. I don't know if that's true or not. And he was in the Ukrainian parliament, but his party was voted out last time because they got under 5% of the vote. He owns this TV channel called Nash. So regulators have been trying to close it down on the basis that it's pumping out pro-Kremlin propaganda. So the British intelligence claims that Murayev is regularly speaking to Russian intelligence, and the United States appear to lend credence to that story. Obviously, I didn't know whether it's true or not. Anyway, and the British, they listed 4 other Ukrainian politicians who they claim were groomed by Moscow for various roles in government if the Russians conquer more of Ukraine. Now, Sergei Shoigu, the Russian foreign minister, he's coming to London quite soon to meet his British analogue. Why have they stalled, the Russians? Maybe they're hoping that there are concessions. Maybe it's true that they really don't intend to invade. They give themselves the option. They're trying to intimidate Ukraine and others. So that's it. Their massive build-up on Ukraine is not threatening to anyone. Also, we're told their invasion of Ukraine, which they keep lying about, is not threatening to anyone. If Ukraine moves its troops within its own land, defends its own land, that's threatening. That's aggressive. This is the topsy-turvydom of Putinism. Well, that's my penny's worth. I really wish the conflict were ended on a just basis. Toodaloo.